Do a quick live on recall. I don't really self-promote. I just actually literally advertised it today with my beautiful Andromeda Flame who read it and loved it, and it meant so much to me. Why am I promoting it? Why am I asking you guys to consider reading it? Well, because I can't really recommend any Twin Flame books. I've read a lot of Twin Flame books, and well, I haven't read. That's a lie. What am I saying? I've looked at Twin Flame books, okay? And how do I explain this? The way it's constructed doesn't elicit your own awakening. And again, this is not the great American novel, okay? This is not For Whom the Bell Tolls. I mean, I'm not going to bullshit you. It's more like a cross between Jackie Collins, Ian Fleming, books of that level, like a pulp fiction, but it's actually not a fiction. It's what we call a creative nonfiction, and it's actually a true story. So the way I meet Malek is exactly how I write it. It's exactly how I met Malek, and Malek is one of the main characters in the book. There's Creo, the conqueror. There's Malek, and there's Daniel in this incarnation, meaning in this life. And so, of course, I've changed. When I originally wrote the book, because I knew the kind of repercussion that many writers who write about the mystical world and the etheric and recollection of past lives and downloads with spirit beings and things of that nature, right? Because of the backlash that Carlos Castaneda received. You probably don't even know who the hell that is, but he wrote Journey to Ixtlan. He wrote about Don Juan. He wrote about shamanism and so forth. And people were saying he was lying. He made it up. And people can be very creative. I agree. But there was just certain things that actually today really feel so real and so true. The other person who was really kind of blasted because she was writing books about her shamanic journey. Her name was Lynn Andrews. She passed away a couple years back. I actually physically met her, and she had the most incredible pale opalescent eyes I'd ever seen. I've never seen people like that, with eyes like that. And usually eyes, again, are the window to the soul. So these two people's work had been pretty much relegated to, yeah, they're full of shit. That's not real. That's not possible. And so these nonfiction books were thought to be fictional, even though they were not. So when I first got Recall published from a very small publishing house, that really the publishing house just really loved the book, and I had actually 2 publishing deals on the table, and I chose them because one of the women that discovered Recall actually was she had a double mastectomy and she was going through chemo, and I had a really good relationship with her, and so I decided to go with them. The sad part about it is that little people, mom and pop publishing houses, mom and pop coffee shops. This is why this whole Starbucks thing is such a joke. It's like, go find your local coffee shop and give them the money, But anyway, they actually were competing against the big machine. And the big machine did a lot of soul crushing shit, and a lot of publishing houses in around 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015 started tanking, collapsing. And a lot of them did thrive. There are a lot of publishing houses that did thrive. So why buy Recall? Well, Recall is set in the way it's formatted, and I'm going to tell you a story. When I first wrote the manuscript, I gave it to a friend of mine who read it, and she came back to me saying, I just am getting like past life flashbacks. I don't know why this is happening, because one of the incarnations I had, she said, is I was Chinese. I had my feet bound, and if you've ever seen how feet are bound to make them very tiny, it's pretty gruesome. They break the feet and almost fold it in half. You can look that up yourself, and you can see images of that. It's pretty gruesome. Anyway, she said, and I could not walk. I was hobbling, and I was terrified because we were being conquered. And so Recall, the way it's formatted, it goes, one chapter goes past life, the second chapter goes future, present life, and it switches back and forth like that. And I have a feeling that it does something to people, because after she read the book, she said, I had those past lives and I'm a dancer, and I've been having problems with my feet. I don't know what's going on with my ankles, my knees, but I'm having problems. And suddenly, I know the source of it. And I think your book had something to do with it. And it's not because, again, it's the great American novel. No way will I kiss my own ass on that one. But I think it's the way it's formatted. So subsequently, when other people started reading it, I started getting the same thing. This has elicited a past life for me. And I don't know what it is about your book, but I have had recollections, And so in discussion with some of my very close friends, it was determined that it's the formatting. It's the fact that it goes from present to past, and goes back and forth until the book ends. And so the reason I'm promoting it, because I'm pretty shy about stuff like that. I'm pretty not shy about a lot of things, but when it comes to my own projects on that level, I don't self-promote. And of course, that's weird, right? You would think. But again, it's probably because I know that's not exactly the ultimate book, but it's probably just as good as any book. It's just as good as probably, I don't know, any romance book, erotic book. TikTok did ban it. I don't know why exactly, to be honest with you, but I'm sure it has a lot to do with the fact that that it talks about religion. It talks about the bastardization of religion, and it talks about just a lot of bullshit. So it talks about conquering, it talks about sacrifice. It's pretty triggering, to be honest with you. It will trigger stuff in you. Local coffee shops make better coffee. I prefer small businesses. Yeah, it's just, I don't know why people are thinking it's so good. Like you're punishing small businesses. You're not punishing. It's not a flex to say I'd rather go to Starbucks. I want my Frappuccino. It's a weak fucking flex. But anyway, moving back to the book, because I'm really here to promote it for about just 20 minutes. What else can I tell you? The erotic aspect of it is very important to the book. And you'll notice that if you pay attention, you'll realize that the book, the way they make love in the present life is a tad different than the way they make love in the ancient world. The way sexuality was used by women in the ancient world was their only sword. Sword was their beauty, their brains, and manipulation. That's all they got. That's all they had. So sexuality was definitely different in the ancient world. So when you see sexuality in the present time with Kat and Daniel, you'll see that it's more even keeled. There's a sweetness to it. Whereas in the ancient world, it feels more like a battle of wills, a surrendering, a reflection of I can't surrender to you, I can't do this. And you might recognize that in your own twin flame dynamics. I wouldn't be surprised. But in the ancient world, it's much more prominent and much more dangerous because it is about survival. It's about using that energy to thrive, to protect those you love, and so on and so forth. And if you've ever read anything about Eleanor of Aquitaine or Cleopatra, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't know about these famous powerful women, then you may want to look them up and do a quick, search on them or YouTubing on them. Any questions or comments? Can you share why TT banned it? It's probably because there are two things. Chapter 1 in the prologue talks about religion. It talks about Catholicism. It talks about how we were thought to have B-grade souls. It talks about the Council of Nicaea. It talks about how reincarnation was ripped out of the original Bible. It talks about that. Then it goes into massive sexuality. There is human sacrifice, and because this is what we did in the ancient world. The Irish did it. It wasn't just a South American thing. It was not just an African thing. Pretty much the whole entire planet used rituals like that for power. The crystal skull is mentioned in that, and when I say the crystal skull, the Mitchell Hedges skull is mentioned in that book. Pretty much anybody who is a diehard religiously clinging to their orthodox teaching is going to get completely fucking offended. It's an offensive book in that way. It doesn't put any religion on a pedestal, because in the ancient world, at that point in Mesopotamia, it was all about Ishtar. It was about the gods and the goddesses. And it was about power, dominion, and conquering, taking, pillaging. It was a brutal world, but there was a lot of beauty in it as well. Don't get me wrong. But there was brutality to that ancient world. So when I wrote it, it was definitely a stream of consciousness, because I was putting myself into a trance with music and so forth. That's how I write. I'll just sit and I'll just drink pots of tea and just type away with my headset on and using various types of music that's very evocative, which, by the way, you'll read certain music from, like, for example, Death Can Dance. And I mention it actually in the book, not because I'm telling you to buy the music, just that's what the characters are listening to. And it's interesting too, because there is mention of the struggles of a young couple. There is mentions of money problems. There's mention of money problems, and then tying it to the ancient world and how some of these incarnations really fuck us up in our present incarnation, where we don't feel worthy of winning. And yes, it can reverberate back to 3,000 years ago, 100 years ago, 3,000 years ago, of maybe having it all and being able, and you could have done better with what you had, and then putting yourself in self-sabotaging moves so that you don't win, And so that is something that's discussed in the book on a subtle level. It was written, when it actually happened for me was in 1997. And when I met Malek on AOL, I'm not joking, it was exactly how it opens up is exactly how it happened. The prologue, the oracle, she goes to the oracle. She's been having nightmares. Her name is Bakor, Queen Bakor from Mesopotamia. And I mentioned the Hanging Gardens and all kinds of, I don't want to really say too much, but suffice it to say, in my humble opinion, there are scenes I'm very proud of. They all each chapter stands on its own. It was based when I was in my early 30s. I was working for a tech company, and we were going through the Y2K conversion, and there was a lot of weird shaking and trembling of the collective consciousness of the end of the world. The infrastructure would collapse. All of that shit was going on, which was weird to me even then, because I knew that this was not yet. And so it toggles back between this weird mood of the world's going to end, and yet in Mesopotamia, the world is ending as they know it. There's a conqueror coming. It's been foretold. And it's interesting because one of the ceremonies that I've described, which I've read before on it live, but that I don't want to go too much into because I don't want to spoil it for you, is a ceremony I wrote, before I even knew it was a ceremony. What that means is I wrote the ceremony remembering it, on my own recollection. And then one day I decided, what the fuck, let me find out if this is a real thing. Let me see if I can even find this information, right? And sure enough, it was confirmed. So when you have recollection of your past lives and you don't know X, Y, and Z, what's interesting is some of it is going to be, you're going to find information that supports your download, and some of it you won't find. Why? Because there's no record of it, no written record of it. That's what's incredibly interesting about, like, even recalling past lives on other planets. There's most likely no records of it, obviously, right? No one's going to support your findings in your own journey back into time, right? Peeling back the veils of your incarnations. So when I finally finished Recall, while I was writing it, I was doing the morning pages in the morning, just to give you the process of how I wrote. And the morning pages was where for every morning before I make coffee, before I made anything, did anything, I would write 6 to 7 pages to kind of vomit any kind of weird blocks or whatever. And then I was very disciplined. When I write, I'm very disciplined, and I would write 6 hours a day. And so over the summer, I wrote this book. And yeah, another thing, honestly, I'm going to be very blunt with you. The what is it? The forward page, the forward letter that I wrote is when I republished it myself, by the way, from this defunct publishing house. I kind of sat on the manuscript for like, I don't know, damn near, yeah, 10 years. And then I decided, let me republish it. Maybe this is the right time. And so I went ahead and did it. And during that time, it was actually November of last year, what was happening in the Middle East started exploding. So another reason why it could have been banned is I wrote that. And that could have offended whoever. This is not a book that is going to lick anyone's ass. This is a book that you're either going to love or hate. If you're not into erotica, this is definitely not your book. If you're not into looking at the ancient world and its brutality and what it did to many of us in terms of guilt, in terms of betrayal, in terms of regret, in terms of shame, in terms of self-loathing, and how that could actually, set you up for the next 3,000 years of incarnations of looping into frequency matches of I don't deserve, I can't forgive myself, and so on and so forth, then this book is for you. Does that make sense? But if that's not your thing, then yeah, that definitely do not buy the book at all. Like you're going to get triggered as fuck. So it's not a good idea. But if you're looking for a twin flame book, then this is your book. It is a chick book. I remember when I first came into union with my twin, he read that book in 3 days. For men, I wouldn't recommend it for a man, to be honest with you. He liked it. He recognized himself in the book. No shit. But you have to understand, I'd written the book literally 2 years, almost 3 years before we came into physical union. So there was a lot of things that were really, really strange, because how could I have known all of these things about how we would make love and all of that before we did? So it was weird. There were certain patterns and things of that nature. So the book goes back and forth. So it is a creative nonfiction. And I had to write it that way because, of course, there's like, there's stuff that's missing. So I had to fill it in, hence creative nonfiction. But it was a feeling as I wrote it that what I was like finishing up, if you will, or fleshing it out was, it felt right. Again, I go into the meditative states where I go into an excuse me, I can't talk this morning, alternative realities, right? And I just download. When I write, I download. If I have to struggle to think of what to write, I don't write it because it's not real at all. It's fake. It's contrived. So that's why the morning pages was so important to me, because that actually, it was like turning on a faucet. It was like turning on water. And it was just, I was writing as fast as I could because, meaning typing, because the downloads were so fast. It was easily written. I didn't struggle at all writing it. It was the weirdest thing I've ever, and that's how I like to write. If I have to pause this and that, then I'm not in the zone. And it got to the point where I started writing it into the 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning, and it was keeping me up. I literally, so I did the 6 hours, but sometimes I would do 12. And that was crazy for me, only because Stephen King said something really interesting about writing. He said, if it doesn't keep you up at night, it won't keep others up at night. So, and it was, and I realized that was exactly what was happening. It was keeping me up at night. So that was good. Okay. That, to me, that was a good sign. And I realized that was exactly what was happening. It was keeping me up at night. So that was good. Okay. That, to me, that was a good sign that, yeah. But if you are into erotica, I have been published, believe it or not, in Japan, in Australia, all over the world for my erotic work. And I stopped, and for my erotic art is actually cataloged at the Kinsey Institute in Indiana University. So my work is there. And my poetry and short stories have been published. I've won awards. I don't talk about it because whatever. But in terms of erotica, this is something I've been doing for quite a while. So I'm very comfortable. It's not something that's chunky or clunky for me. It just flows. It just is. Probably because when I was a kid, I was reading erotica when I was quite young, 14 years old. Yeah. Is it appropriate? Well, better than reading smut. That's deviant, in my opinion. So I was reading Anais Nin, and I was reading all kinds of different writers, which I can't remember their names and whatever. But so for me, it was like an easy thing to slip into writing erotica. And then so when I wrote Recall, to me, a relationship with your twin is all erotic. There. I'd say many times the way we best communicate is when we are making love to each other. It's a silent communication, in my opinion, and it's very healing. I mean, massively healing. So that's one. I'm trying to think of something else that I wanted to share with you about this. I have to go in a minute, but I wanted to say that if you want to buy Recall, you need to go on my profile on my Linktree, and you'll see that it's there. If you try to look for it, you will not find it. You will see the old copy that says Taj Barker, not Tony Barker, and it'll be like $45. And I don't know what it is with Amazon, but trust me when I tell you that we as authors who self-publish, we all are being, no offense, not making money off Amazon. It's a joke, but I'm not promoting it to make money. Believe me, it's not going to make me any money. I'm promoting it because I'm realizing that many of you have no way to hang on to something, and it could actually help you deconstruct your own past lives, or maybe even elicit a spontaneous recollection of your own past lives, perhaps with your twin, maybe not at all with your twin, just you, which is very important just as well. So that's why I decided today. Something told me, because honestly, there's no, believe me, unless I sold 100,000 copies, trust me when I say many of us as authors know, and Amazon, unfortunately, is a place funny business with self-published authors. So just so you know, okay, how to catch you again. Your voice draws me every time. Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. That's very, very sweet. So, do your thing. If this is something that you want to buy for yourself for the Thanksgiving holidays or Christmas, it's $11.11. How could I not price it $11.11? If you want to read it on Kindle, I think it's like $4.99 or something like that. I try to make it approachable. Unfortunately, if I end up publishing it, in other words, if I end up publishing it and selling it directly from my website, it'll probably end up being more expensive at some point because of shipping. It might end up being $27, whatever. But for now, the book is so good. I actually bought extra copies. It's that good. Send one to my twin. Oh, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. I didn't know that. And you know why I didn't know that? Because I never got paid. So listen, don't worry about it, okay? What I'm saying to you is these are tools, you get me? Like I have a breast cancer book. It's called Songs of Solomon, a pillow book for breast cancer survivors and their lovers, okay? It's an erotic book for breast cancer survivors. And it's up there. And if you look for it on your own, you will see a copy for $45. I've sold mine for I think $9.99. And the Kindle I think is $1.99, something like that. And again, I don't publish these books to make myself a living at all. I publish these books so that there are tools for healing, and there are tools for self-realizations. And I am going to be writing the next book, which is Starseeds, How We Fell. And that's the next book based on my Akashic readings with clients all over the world, which are stunningly beautiful and have taught me so much about the various ways where we fell from high dimensional consciousness to 3D, how we plunked down onto this beautiful planet, and how, and all of our stories are so different and so diverse. It's incredibly exciting to me. And so that'll be the next book, which will be a complete a self-help, if you will, hopefully. And so I don't expect it to do anything really more than to help people, really. Believe it or not, trust me, there's a point where you have to realize that writing sometimes is beyond your control. When it's time for you to write, It's like somebody's just grabbed you by the scruff of your neck, sat you down in front of your computer and saying, it's time. And writing is a fever. It's a passion. It's something that you do in spite of knowing that it's not going to, it's probably not going to make you any money. Publishing houses today want a sure thing, and literary agents want a sure thing. And, there used to be an amazing level of competition, and there was a time when a manuscript would go in New York City. It would go from Manhattan. It would go from in other words, they would have messengers delivering manuscripts to different publishing houses, right? And they would have what they call bidding wars. And one of the bidding wars that was huge was the book Lovely Bones, which was a movie was made of it, Lovely Bones. And I think the manuscript was sold for $500,000, and it was a first-time author. So those days are gone. They don't want that. They want to know that you have 100,000 or 200,000 or 1.5 million followers. They want to make sure that you have a platform. They want all kinds of things before they'll even consider your manuscript, just so you know. So it's a whole different business. And in the old days, there'd be like 10, 15 publishing houses. And I think now we're down to 3 in America, just 3. When J.K. Rowling got her book published, the Harry Potter series, the reason why it got published is because the publisher's 8-year-old child, he just handed the manuscript like 3 pages, 3 chapters to the kid. The kid came back after reading it going, where's the rest? And history was made. And they first published only 500 copies. I was in the UK. And 500 copies, my friend. So it was a test run. And as you know, it was incredibly successful, and the writing was absolutely delicious. So, the publishing world, for many of us who are authors as well, is kind of a sticky situation. And it's not, the opportunities are not there. So when you support an author, like a Billy Carson, like I buy his books, but if you can buy from their websites directly, I know it's more expensive, believe me, trust me. And eventually I'll offer that too from my website. And once I can, create, like once I've settled myself into myself, I'll be able to sell from my website, sign copies, blah, blah, blah. If you do want a signed copy, just hit me up, and then I'll go ahead and order a few copies to do that. And then I can send you signed copies if you'd like. If you're interested in that, let me know, and I'll do the proper arrangements. But let me know way before Christmas. I can't wait for that book. You deserve to get paid, Tony. Oh, well, we all deserve to get paid. 11:11. Yeah, that's why the book is so good, actually. Oh, sorry. Let me see. Can't wait for that book. You deserve to be paid. You're so sweet. The book crushed me. Harry Potter was the book that got me to read. It got a lot of people to read. I was reading that book out loud to my kid. I actually was interviewed. I have I forget which book came out, but anyway, one of her Harry Potter's books came out, and I was there with my son, who was he was a baby. He was like 3 or 4 months. Anyway, one of her Harry Potter's books came out, and I was there with my son, who was he was a baby. He was like 3 or 4 months old. And I'm being interviewed, and I'm holding my son in my arms, and I'm holding a copy of the newest Harry Potter Chronicles, and he's chewing on the cover. He's like, I don't know, 3 months old. And I was buying first editions for him, for his future, you know what I mean? And I think we read every copy, and it was all about reading it, not so much watching the movies, though we all love the movies, but watching it. But Recall is definitely not Harry Potter. It's definitely not. So if it looks like something you want to explore, feel free to explore Recall. Be ready for a incredible ride. It was on Goodreads. If you can check me out on Goodreads under Tony Barca, that's probably the best way to find some reviews on Recall. And I'm proud to say that one of the best reviews I ever got was, I believe she was from Japan, and she read the book, and it blew her mind. And I think for me, that was one of the best things. So when I have people saying that they love the book, believe me, I'm in massive gratitude, because I still feel when I read it, I still enjoy reading it, believe it or not. But I do know that I wish I could you know, there's certain things that we all do that as writers. We always want to edit the books. That's the problem with writers. We can edit a book until the cows come home. So sometimes you got to release the work for what it is. But it was supposed to be a trilogy of the Anima Animus, which is based on Carl Jung's archetypes, and I might end up actually finishing that up. But my next books is The Starseeds, How We Fell, and then after that will be Gangster Guru, and that should be, and those will be the two books that I really want to concentrate on after that, you know. But I might do a U-turn and go back into recall and do a second, you know, the rest of the story, you know, of recall, because obviously it doesn't end there, and I don't want to be a spoiler on how the book ends in this particular volume. So this is volume 1 of what should have been 3 books, and unfortunately that didn't happen because of, you know, many things. My publisher, God bless her soul, did her best. She waged the good fight, and it is what it is. It's very, very difficult to be a publishing house. A small publishing house is a bitch. They don't want us to have our own publishing companies. They really don't. So what you're seeing is individual authors publishing under their own name, because to work with even a small publishing house is very dicey. You know, for almost 2-3 years, she held on to my book, and it was frustrating because she didn't want to let it go, and I understand. You know, I wasn't mad at her. We're still friends. Don't get me wrong, but you know, there were moves that she was afraid to make, which she should have made, but she didn't have the probably the strength. You know, it takes strength to fight against the Goliath. You know, it takes a lot of energy and a lot of strength, and she's older. She's a boomer. She's in her late 70s, and she just didn't have the strength. So when I decided to republish it, my original editor reformatted the book. The book is beautiful, actually. I'm really proud of it. It's not a book where I put sprinkles and stickers and bookmarkers and all that shit. I don't. Sorry. It's just a basic book. I wanted to make it as approachably priced as possible, and $11.11 is, you can't get cheaper than that with free shipping if you have Amazon. And it's a quick read from what I've heard. Right? Anybody who's read it can comment right now. Does anybody think it was a quick read, or was it slow? Be honest. I mean, this is not the time to, you know. For me, it's a quick read. It moves. But I know some other people have said that it is a quick read, but any comments on that? Did anybody find it hard to read? Anybody? Okay. Well, I gotta go because I got stuff to do, but I wanted to really thank you again for being here. Recall, I've advertised it. I really hope that you'll read it. I hope that you'll find some activations. I find that books do activate us, but the way this one activates people is still a shock to me, and I'm happy it does. And I would love to hear your feedback. And like, if you've read it, leave a feedback on Amazon. It helps. And you know, leave a feedback. Let people know why it's important to you and why you enjoyed reading it. And I certainly can't improve it because it is what it is right now. You might see a couple typos. That's one of the bummers of self-publishing. But the good thing about it is that it was written with heart, with integrity, with tenacity, and with honesty, absolute honesty. And it is shocking. It does have you know, human sacrifice, unfortunately, but it is what I recalled happened, and I couldn't hold back. The story would have not been completed. This past life recollection would have made no sense if I had edited some of the brutal, gruesome shit that I remembered, which would explain why there were problems in the present incarnation. It made absolute sense. Does that make sense? So, yeah. So anyway, much love to you guys. Thank you for being here. You're so sweet. I probably we'll do another live today, and we'll do some energy reading on the twin flame, collective, and we'll look at that. So I'm not going to advertise it. It might be 7 o'clock Eastern, it might be 9, I'm not sure, but it'll definitely, oh no, it won't be today. Today's Wednesday. I've got a lot of clients. No, it won't be today. It might be very, very late, like at midnight if I can't sleep. It might be midnight Eastern time, and I have to catch up on so many videos. You have no idea that I have not uploaded. I've had like 4 or 5 lives, which I have to edit only because it loops. I don't know what's up with TikTok, but again, I need to practice doing lives on YouTube, because I don't know what's TikTok's echoing. There's an echoing chamber. And if it's a 2-hour live, I'm sitting there for 4 hours. I'm not joking when I'm saying it, to edit out each echoing loop. That's why I have not uploaded it, because unless you're cool with that and you can just be patient with it echoing a sentence 3 times and it continues on. I'm sure you've noticed that in some of my lives on YouTube. And so I've held back like literally 5 lives because it's fuck. So I'm trying to make my lives like chunkier, more shorter. Let it echo, doesn't bother me. Okay, you got it. Hang on. Yes, of course, approve comment. What the fuck? Yes, I would love to do that. All right. So this live didn't loop. Yeah, but wait till I'll go ahead and upload these lives then. Thank you, Rachel, for all your time. Sending you much love on your journey. I'll talk to you guys soon. So it'll probably be around midnight East Coast time, because I can't sleep anyway. I don't sleep until 2 o'clock in the morning typically, which is weird right now. It's good to go. Okay, beautiful. Much love, babies. All right, bye-bye. Namaste.